Hello dear students, I am Dr. P. Vasanta, Assistant Professor of English from Govt DT College, UTAI. I am going to deliver a lecture for fourth semester students, paper 2, Indian Writing in English, A.K. Ramanujan's poem, A River. I have divided this lecture of mine in 4 sections. The first one, introduction about the poet. Second, stanza-wise poem with summary. Poetic analysis of the poem, A River. And the last one, relevant questions. So, before we proceed for the poem, let's know about the author. Shri A.K. Ramanujan, a poet, scholar, translator, folklorist, philologist, essayist, and professor of Indian literature, was born on 16th March 1929 in Mysore city. Being from educated background, he joined in Maharaja College of Mysore in science stream, but later on changed to English. In 1958, he went to United States to pursue his PhD from Indiana University. In 1962, he joined Chicago University as an assistant professor and was affiliated with this university for 30 years, that is, throughout his career. Among his literary works, his poems are The Striders, 1966, Relations, 1971, Selected Poems, 1976, Second Sight, 1986, and The Collected Poems, 1997. His essay titled as 300 Ramayanas, 5 Examples and 3 Thoughts, which was published in 1999, became a topic of extreme controversy. He won 3 notable awards: Padma Shri Award in 1976, MacArthur Fellowship 1986, and the most prestigious literary award, Sahityak Academic Award, posthumously in 1999 for the collected poems. He died in Chicago on 13 July 1993. Now, about the brief introduction about the poem which we are going to deal, A River. This poem is about the river Vaikai, which flows to the city of Madurai, also called the city of temples and of poets, who sing the glory of it and of the river. In this poem of 4 stanzas, A.K. Ramanujan not only sings the glory of the river, but also illustrates agony and miseries which come through. He compares new poets to the old poets and says that both only romanticize the glory of it, but also ignore the harsh realities emerge out of it. He wants to present his ideas through this poem and says that new poets are blindfolded and stereotypes, who express their inability to create something new. Now let's begin with the poem, stanza-wise and its summary. Left, I have written poem, and right side, I have written about summary. So please, if you have book, you can open it or you can just focus on screen. Stanza 1. In Madurai, city of temples and poets, who sang of cities and temples every summer, a river dries to a trickle in the sand, bearing to sand drifts straw and women's hair, clogging the water gates at the rusty bars, under the bridges with patches of repair, all of them, the wet stone glistening like sleepy crocodiles, the dry unshaven water buffaloes lounging in the sun, the poets only sang of the floods. Coming to its summary. In this stanza, the poet personifies the city of Madurai as not only of temples and poets, but also of river Vaikai, which flows through it. In summer, when there is no water, sand looks like ribs of human beings. The straws, women's hair, and the bridges with rusty bars and uneven patches obstruct the free flow of water left in the river. When wet, the stones in the river appears to be like sleeping crocodiles which shines in the sun and the stones, when dry, they appear to be like water buffaloes. The poet is trying to tell us that other poets only sing the songs of the rainy season when rivers are flooded. Stanza 2. He was there for a day when they had the floods. People everywhere talked of the inches raising, of the precise number of cobbled steps run over by the water raising on the bathing places, and the way it carried off 3 village houses, one pregnant woman, and a couple of cows named Gopi and Brinda as usual. In this stanza, the poet makes us feel about his presence during the rainy season for one day. He illustrates that it was raining heavily, and with every inch of rainfall, every step of bathing places of the river was submerging into water. This flood damaged and carried off 3 houses of the village, one pregnant woman with twins in her womb, and a couple of cows which were named Gopi and Brinda. Stanza 3. The new poet still quoted the old poets, but no one spoke in verse of the pregnant woman, drowned with perhaps twins in her, kicking at blank walls even before birth. In the third stanza, the poet complains about the poets of his generation who tread the path of old ones. For them, it is just occurrence. They become extremely clear that they were not sympathetic about the sufferings of human beings. No poet was sensible enough to put in verse the agony of the twins who might be kicking the walls of the mother's womb to save themselves. But unfortunately, they died with their mother in the womb before coming into the world. The poet is very disappointed to note the insensibility of the poets. This kind of attitude makes their poetry weak and unappealing. Stanza 4. He said, the river has water enough to be poetic about once a year, and then it carries away in the first hour 3 village houses, a couple of cows named Gopi and Brinda, and one pregnant woman expecting identical twins with no moles on their bodies with different colored diapers to tell them apart. He said, here he in the fourth stanza, poet refers to himself. He says rivers can be glorified once in a year, but the incidents of 3 houses in the village being carried off, drowning of mother and twins, and a couple of cows named Gopi and Brinda will last forever in the minds of everyone. The poet imagines how the twins must be struggling to come out and how their mother be getting pain in this process. She must have planned to wear them different colors of diapers in order to distinguish them because they might not have moles on their body. In this stanza, rather in this last stanza, poet compares and contrasts his views with the view of the poets of his age. The views only signify the beauty of the river, whereas poets' views balances between the beauty and the impact of agony and misery which left on the minds of the people for ages to come. Now, this is the end of poem and its summary. Now, let us deal with another important part of the poem, and it is poetic analysis of the poem, which is important from your examination point of view too. A.K. Ramanujan has used various poetic techniques like alliteration, assonance, consonance, etc. Though from reader's point of view, they are not very comfortable to read. His entire poem is in an uneven rhyme. First stanza has 16 lines, second one has 11, third one 7, and fourth one 15 lines. So Technically, it becomes very difficult for the readers to analyze the poem. In the first stanza, the poet has used alliteration and consonants with the repetition of G sounds like barring, clogging, lounging, glistening, and S sounds of words like sang and sand. He also used metaphors when he compares two stones, wet and dry, with animals like crocodiles and water buffaloes. He doesn't want to be stereotyped like other poets. He wants to look at the picture from different angle although. The third stanza, the poet is worried about the similarities between old poets and new poets. Both ignore the tragic results. There is no growth in the thought process. Here, the poet is being sensitive about the pregnant woman's agony and misery, about the twins in her womb, couple of cows drowned, and 3 houses of the village are totally washed off. He doesn't want to highlight about the flooding of the river, which other poets did. He wants to provide human touch to it. In the first stanza, the poet relates with the phrases used in the third stanza, but approach is a bit different. He talks about pregnant woman's thought process, how she plans in her imagination to wear them a 2 different color of diapers in order to distinguish them. The poet again puts humor in these lines. Finally, I would like to conclude my lecture that how the reflections of humanity and sensitivity very artistically presented by A.K. Ramanujan, which is the sign of a great poet. Now let us come to the last section of my video, that is relevant questions. These are the few questions which I have prepared from your examination point of view. Number 1, A.K. Ramanujan as a poet elucidate. Second, critical appreciation of the poem A River by A.K. Ramanujan. Third, what light does a river throw on the political characteristics of A.K. Ramanujan? Fourth, comment on A.K. Ramanujan's use of irony and humor in the poem A River. Explain the significance of the poem A River by A.K. Ramanujan. Last question, explain the need of words and phrases used in the poem A River by A.K. Ramanujan. These are the few questions. Based on these questions, you can prepare your notes and prepare for your examination. Finally, I should say thank you.